5 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks to our witnesses. Admiral Harris, good to see you again. I think the last time was in Singapore. You were wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and you reminded me that Marine was an acronym suggesting we ride in Navy equipment. I won't use the precise words you used because it's not appropriate for the hearing, but I appreciate that. In recent years, we've heard a slew of timetables from high-level officials about a prospective PLA invasion of Taiwan, 2027, 2025, 2024. Regardless of which timetable you subscribe to, do you agree that there is an increased threat of a PLA invasion of Taiwan within the decade?
Yes, and what I used to say when I was in uniform was the decade of danger is the 2020s, but I wouldn't nail down a specific year. Though I would also say that when Admiral Davidson said that 2027 was his year, that he was privy to a lot more intelligence at the time he said it than I was. And so for whatever intelligence drove him to make that call, we should pay attention to it. There's something out there that caused him to say that 2027 was the year.
Is your sense that the balance of power has eroded against us since you left that post?
I think China's power has increased since 2018.
And then looking at the war in Ukraine, it seems to me there are two primary stories coming out of it. First, there is the failure of deterrence on February 24th. And second, there's the success of the Ukrainian military in resisting Russian aggression. What lessons, if any, for Taiwan do you take from both of those? The initial failure of deterrence and then subsequently our security cooperation training and equipping missions with the Ukrainians before and during the war.
So we got it wrong with Ukraine in terms of intelligence, because we thought that the Ukraine, at least what I read, I mean, you know, how would I know, but we thought that Ukraine would fall. So we got that wrong. We got it wrong with Afghanistan, and we estimated intelligence-wise that the Afghan National Army would last longer and that the Taliban could not possibly take over the country in the short amount of time that it did. So we got that wrong. So I'm worried about our ability to do strategic intelligence. I think tactical intelligence were unrivaled. But strategic intelligence, if we get it wrong with Ukraine, if we get it wrong with Afghanistan, then are we going to get it wrong about Taiwan and other countries? So that's an issue. As I said, I was in Taiwan. I left Taiwan with a sense that the people of Taiwan, the Taiwanese, are resilient, understand the threat, and understand what they have to do to meet that threat. So I was pleased and optimistic when I left.
If our goal is to deter the threat, deter war, how important in your mind is it to arm Taiwan to the teeth prior to shooting starting?
I think it's critical. I mean, you know, and that goes back to what I said before about strategic clarity. Now, there's an argument that says if we are clear, then that could precipitate an attack. It's just like the other issues we've talked about here before. I'm of the other opinion that if we're ambiguous, that might encourage an attack. Because Xi Jinping has been clear from day one that he's going to take Taiwan peacefully, hopefully, but by force if necessary.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would note that clarifying strategic ambiguity has bipartisan support on this committee. It's not widespread, it's not uniformly shared, but I'm hoping it's something we can continue to discuss over the next 2 years on this committee, on the Select Committee on China as well. Quickly, I remember, I don't know if it was testimony or a think tank speech you had given about when the INF Treaty was still in force, and pointing out that China was not bound by it. And I think that laid the intellectual groundwork for us getting out of the INF Treaty. I think we have a massive opportunity to field INF non-compliant systems that we're not taking advantage of. Do you see AUKUS as a vehicle for doing that? Is ITAR still a barrier to working with the Aussies in terms of fielding longer-range, intermediate ground-launched missile systems?
Yeah, so ITAR is a barrier to realizing the full potential of AUKUS, as we talked about before. I don't see the direct correlation between AUKUS and INF. I was a complete supporter of getting out of INF because it was self-limiting. Russia wasn't abiding by it, and China's not a signatory to it. So I was in favor of pulling out of it, but we haven't realized the benefits of pulling out of it, as you just stated.
I'm out of time.